Hey, Alex. Do a little open, little intro here, and then I think they'll put us both on camera before first serve. Ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
That's some fun.
Yeah.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. What a weekend it has been. Live from Madison, Wisconsin at the Madtown Juniors Volleyball Facility, this is the 2025 Volleyball League of America North Division Cup Men's Championship match. And this is a matchup that we've been very much looking forward to, that many saw coming from the beginning of the event, the Chicago Icemen against the St. Louis Stallions. My name is Rob St. Clair. Very pleased to be joined by Milwaukee Dive founder and one-time VLA champion and several other accolades. This is Chandler North. We're excited to have both of us here on the broadcast. It's going to be a really good final. Chandler, you know a lot about both of these teams. What do you think? First of all, are you surprised that this is the final that we're seeing?
No, not surprised at all. I think you look at this weekend and this season as a whole, both the Icemen and Stallions have the most complete, well-rounded rosters, giving them flexibility to avoid deficiencies throughout different matchups and times throughout the weekend. So as a fan, this has got to be exactly what you're excited to see. Two teams, the best teams so far this year, going at it for a final.
Well said. This is what a lot of fans could have asked for. The St. Louis Stallions in their second Cup final in as many weeks. They just won their first VLA Cup Series tournament last weekend at the Central Division Cup, taking down Team Pineapple in the final there. And the Icemen, we can talk about this later, Chandler, throughout the broadcast, but their record in divisional cup tournaments, not always stellar. And I'm really curious to see who they put out there on the floor in this final and what these two teams are able to put together lineup-wise. And as you know very well, the success at the VLA Cup Series of tournaments is a learning curve. This is a long weekend. This is a lot of volleyball. It takes some pretty nuanced skill in how you manage your team to get everyone all the way through to a point like this. The Icemen are deeper, they are more experienced, but the Stallions have had success the most recently.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, both of these, when you break down an entire weekend of play, Stallions coming in with 9 guys this weekend, but have gone pretty much untouched this far to avoid the total amount of play. Icemen kind of similarly have been able to rotate guys in. So again, you look at this final from a fan's perspective, you're getting the best of the best, potentially at their best when it matters the most.
That's what we all want to see. Starting lineups are in. The Icemen in the white and ice blue look on the near side of your screen. The St. Louis Stallions in light blue and navy blue on the far side of your screen. Chicago versus St. Louis. North Division Cup title on the line. The trophy is in the house, and St. Louis is on the board first. That is Will Frank, number 26 in light blue, the outside hitter out of McKendree.
Perfect delivery, right in rhythm. Block is formed. Can't stop it anyways.
Fun setter matchup here. Two very tall physical setters. Here's Jack McGuire for the Icemen. And his counterpart, AJ Risavi, makes a defensive play for the Stallions, but only a free ball coming over. Pretty good recycle there by Shields. Into the block and covered by Merck. Overby on the right side now, through the block and right on the baseline.
Interesting to see there twice in a row, Will Frank with the wide hands trying to match the physicality of Kyle, opening up a field goal on the look in transition.
Physicality, a pretty good theme for this matchup. This is almost exclusively 6'6" and above across the front court for both teams. Firepower from the baseline as well. Here's Kyle Overby. They serve down the line off the tape. I think that redirection late confused Mason Andrasco, number 18 in light blue, just a little bit.
There's also the depth of the serve. Like off the hand, it had that pop but it didn't get all the way back to the passer's depth. Almost had to be a forward move if you wanted to handle it.
Good leave there. That ball goes out of bounds from Overby. Rest of the Icemen line up really quickly. Jack McGuire at the setter spot. Griffin Shields at opposite. Kyle Overby, Dave Hancock at outside hitters. Colin Merck at libero, and Parker Swartz, and I assume Scott Sawicki will be the 2 middle blockers.
Absolutely.
Get to the rest of the Stallions lineup after this point. Excellent pass. Another look at Shields. Cross court. Frank is there in position 6. Beautiful run to the middle. That is excellent transition offense. Helps to have a tall setter, A.J. Rissivi, and Paul Narup announces his presence in the game, the middle blocker out of Loyola, Chicago. Rest of the Stallions starting lineup, it's Dave Siebem, the normal outside hitter, actually lining up at opposite in this match. Kyle Deutschman is the libero. Paul Narup in the middle, like I said, as well as Drew Iliff. And Griffin Shields there on the right side finds the seam between the 2 blockers.
It's just so hard to defend. It's got the tempo. You have to protect the line. You don't want to give up the bounce, but Griffin's just so good with that turn back into the space of the seam that's then created.
Yeah, moving the ball around, hitting shots outside of his body or his shoulder direction. Out of system play here, free ball at best. Overby, McGuire. First swing for Hancock is a beauty down the line, and Chandler, you and I both know this Dave Hancock character pretty darn well. He kind of flips a coin on a given day to decide what position he's going to play. Right now it's outside hitter.
We faced him at libero just a few weeks ago, and he balled out there too. Just a phenomenal, well-rounded player.
I think the only position I haven't seen him play in a real match is setter. Good service pressure there from Parker Swartz in the unique hybrid. Gets a transition chance for the Icemen. Hancock again, high into the hands and covered. Oh my goodness, what an outstanding out-of-system play. One thing I know that the Icemen work really hard on in training with a lot of intention is out-of-system offense. All of their players are comfortable chucking high balls, and all of their guys have all the shots at their disposal when they go up to try and take a swing. What's it like receiving Parker Swartz's serve when it's inbound? It's pretty unique amongst VLA servers.
Yeah, it definitely is. It gives a hard read off his arm because he's got both hooks and a float in play off his hand. And I actually think this new Franklin ball plays really well with his serve.
That is a reaching over the net violation called against Dave Siebem of St. Louis. I'm a little surprised that ball didn't quite get to the plane. Tall setters for both of these teams. There's going to be a lot of those tight plays right above the plane of the net. Jack McGuire, now number 12 for Chicago, into the front court. Pretty good block touch there against Iliff. Sawicki in transition gets the ball back. Hancock again, one-on-one. Good luck.
No doubter.
Oh, man. Yeah, strap in, ladies and gentlemen. Get comfortable. We're in for a lot more of this. These are high-flying, physical, disciplined, skilled volleyball players. 7-4 Icemen, early lead, set number 1. Best 3 out of 5 sets to hand out the North Division Cup trophy. Shields comes up short. Tell you what, Chandler, this is the first season that we finally have some representation in the VLA from the city of St. Louis. The Stallions, founded earlier this year, have played only a couple tournaments. They're 1-for-1 in cup tournament wins. That is a hotbed of talent down at the Mississippi River. As I think that's Siebem back there that picks up the ace serve off Colin Merck. That's not an easy thing to do. But I'm just really happy to see some more representation from all different places, but St. Louis in particular, it's about time.
Absolutely there, and an unusual error or ace given up by Merck. He's usually so good when it's on him. His touch is top-notch.
1 ace, 1 error that trip for Siebem, but St. Louis will take that ratio every single time. Here is Hancock. Probably opting for float serve.
Will ducking around the screen. Goes over the screen.
Wow, what a dig by Merck. Closing into that cross court. Can Hancock take a swing? Over aggressive and into the middle of the net. Rare transition hitting error for Chicago. First look at Mason Andrasco from the service line. Number 18 in light blue, 6'3" outside hitter out of Mizzou. Outstanding NCVF college club program. Overby, block barely covered by Hancock. Shields attempts to run it down but cannot. Excellent block by the big setter, A.J. Rissavi. And interesting little point in the overlap between these two teams. Both Kyle Overby and Scott Sawicki, Lindenwood alums at University in St. Louis. And you got Paul Narup in the middle for St. Louis, an alumni of Loyola Chicago. Pretty confident leave there for Merck for a ball that was closer than I think maybe he thought it was going to be. Speaking of volatile and dangerous servers, Scott Sawicki, one of the best in the league. Very unpredictable, floats weird, has irregular spin, moves it both ways, and no luck on his first attempt there.
I'll admit we're much more scared of Scott with the old old ball. We're excited now with the Franklin being more forgiving off the hand for us to read and play.
Yeah, normally he would spatch one kind of straight down, and receiving that was a nightmare. Here is Drew Iliff, who starts at middle blocker in this match. He's played a little in the middle and a little bit on the right in this tournament. Beautiful handle by Hancock there. Shields out of the back row. Decent slow down touch by Frank. Right on the net. Overby slowed down, but a net violation against A.J. Rissavi, the St. Louis setter.
You see it there twice so far, though. A.J. being pesky on Kyle. Just the size coming into play. He doesn't jump all that much, but his reach is still there at that level. Almost harder as a hitter to face that because you're used to seeing people's shoulders lines, and then he's still able to touch it.
Pretty good dig by Merck, but an out-of-system setting error by the Icemen. St. Louis side out. We are tied up at 10. Rissavi, the left-hander, working on Overby in position one. Overpassed on the float serve and dunked by the combination, I think, of Frank and Narup. Narup pointing to himself, saying, "Give me credit in the stat sheet for the block there."
I like that serve choice, too. Row one, they do use Kyle a lot, and you make him handle the ball. You make him move around when he's got a large hitting responsibility.
Better hand pass that time by Merck. Wow, that ball was deflected off of Narup right into the face of Sebum, I think. Give the kill to Parker Swartz, the middle blocker out of Ball State.
And these guys at this level are so smart. You saw it there. Merck took a full shuffle over to Kyle to squeeze the space and able to steal a ball away from him. They all know what's going on, and they're able to protect it and give themselves the best chance to win the point.
Exactly. Receivers showing and then taking different space right on contact of the ball. Oh, field goal. Paul Narup right between the hands of Parker Swartz. Only 1 point, not 3.
A good read by Parker, though.
Yeah, he's there.
It'll give merit down the road. And you get a feel on a setter or a look against the middle.
Yeah, the choice there in the blocking game to front his opposing middle attacker instead of just read and try and chase the ball. Keep an eye on that. High ball swing coming here from Hancock against two blockers. Outstanding angle. Wow. Nothing Kyle Deutschman, the St. Louis libero, could do about that.
Teams aren't probably used to defending this level of power or size that Iceman brings. You almost have to triple block that because it's not a dig ball.
Triple blocking, I think, is going to come into play a lot later in this match. Right on cue, a big one. 6 hands.
I don't think anyone wants to swing against that block. Look at that front line.
That is ridiculous. Shields 6'9", Sawicki 6'8", Hancock 6'7". All terrific blockers, and Mason Andrasco is hitting out of a phone booth right there. Good serving by Swartz as well. Oh, a lucky one, a tape trickler. Off the tape, slowed down significantly, and to the floor for a 2-point Icemen lead.
If I'm Stallions here, I'm really, really careful. It's Iceman's best defensive lineup, the best server so far today for them. You have to be careful in this row.
2 timeouts per team per set. Sebum on the right side, through the block of Sawicki somehow. I think that caught him right in the forehead.
Lucky break there, low swing, low enough to get under the hands, create some space.
That's a very real thing. We definitely know this from playing out in the grass, Chandler, you especially, is that sometimes when you're used to blocking really high, you can get beat underneath by a guy like Sebum who's got some angles just barely over the net. Wow, Griffin Shields Easy right side termination plus a St. Louis net violation.
Going back to Sebum's swing there, though, it's such a great decision to stay really brave there. I know the block is huge. I know that set fell a little bit out of rhythm, but you just can't afford to give Icemen a free look, especially in that rotation.
Ooh, tipped by Iliff through Sawicki's hands into the floor. You were telling me something earlier, Chandler, that you really liked how the Stallions prioritize the middle attack with both of their guys that are up there. It really is their number one option in most, if not all, rotations.
Absolutely. They use the middle so well. You saw it in transition earlier as well. I think when you compare the hitting efficiencies across these teams and you wonder why Stallions are so successful, they're able to pump the middle at a higher percentage of allocation that it just nets out to a better efficiency. So defensively, I don't know what you really do. You got to be productive on serve, but it does become a challenge.
Productive on serve. If these two teams are in system, their offenses are scary at every position. Pretty good float service pressure there by Hancock. 6 hands up in front of Andrasco. Good shot. Ooh, right up in the air off the head of Overby. Basically a free ball now for Chicago. Down the line, Overby just outside the arms of Risavi. A beautiful swing to go up by 3. You like that 4-4 shot by Andrasco against 3 blockers?
It's not a bad choice. Merck is one to play. He's so good on balls that are on him, especially the 100-mile-an-hour heat. That's Merck's bread and butter. Making him move, and he didn't have to hit the deck there, but you can sometimes get a mishandle, and not a bad choice.
That right there, very good choice. Once again, St. Louis prioritizing the middle. And Chandler, you and the Milwaukee Dive played against both these teams in this tournament. The Icemen this morning, the Stallions in pool play yesterday. Obviously, you're no stranger to the Chicago Icemen matchup being their division rival, but curious to hear over the next couple points how you think you stop either of these two offenses. Overby inside against 2 blockers, tried to slice off an angle on a little bit of an inside set and comes up short. So a break point there for St. Louis gets him within 1.
Yeah, if I'm defending either of these teams, I'm always trying to hedge my bets and find some form of deficiency. So I'm playing against their plan B. You got to take away plan A. And here it's probably Sawicki, even though Kyle is so good and so strong.
Service error out of bounds there by Andrasco Long. And he will be substituted out for number 3 in light blue, Brian Venhouse, the backup libero, wearing the normal color jersey here. 5'10" libero out of Mizzou. Here is Sawicki. 2-point Icemen lead down the stretch here in set number 1 of the North Division Cup final. Perfect pass. Whoa, my goodness, what a move. Whoa, big setter Jack McGuire making a serious play in the front court for Chicago. Oh, man. One hand drop to the inside, and the highlight of the first set so far. And Will Frank, the victim that time. More good service pressure from Sawicki.
Full commit middle.
Yep. Now to the right side to Sebum out of the back row. Ball may have been going out of bounds. Played by Hancock. Chopped over the top by Overby. Good play defensively. Frank swiped and down. Good shot choice there.
A little more respect after Jack got him once. He kept that hand nice and high. Kept the tip high.
Yeah, I doubt Will Frank has been stuff blocked quite like that all weekend long, if I had to guess. Here is Iliff. Excellent ball in by Overby. Ooh, in-system Bick, the first one we've seen. Hancock there out of the back row on the combination play. You expect to see that a little more?
I would, absolutely. Especially as teams start to see the same rotation over and over. It's one that you see more later in the game, I think.
Yeah, you establish the middle first, and then you create the threat of the outside hitter coming up behind it. That makes sense to me. Frank again rolled. Overby is there, but a tricky play. That ball is underneath the net, and McGuire couldn't get there in time.
Someone has to see that and recognize.
Agreed.
It's a mishandle, but should not be a point score. See if he serves back at Kyle.
Yeah, Risavi going at Hancock this time with the float serve. Ooh, I like the off-speed from Swartz in the middle, and off-speed in the middle, an underrated choice. A lot of the time when it happens, it doesn't even happen intentionally, but that looked like Swartz saw that shot available.
He's been money with it all weekend, to be honest. You can tell him and Jack have that chemistry. They can sometimes shove it real tight where there's no defense unless your block is already committed to it. So if it doesn't score, it's at least opening something else up.
Good pressure here by Overby. Out of system swing at best. No, free ball chance Chicago. McGuire to Shields is blocked by Narup, who closes the door just in time. Wow, what a move by number 23 in light blue. Paul Narup really coming out of nowhere there. I don't think Kyle saw him.
Did that look like Jack changed his mind?
I think it did. I'm not sure he knew where he was going with the ball until it was already in his hands.
Trying to be extra deceptive there on the free ball.
That's just a pure reaction and chased down by Paul Narup. He had no leaning one direction or the other. That's just a world-class middle blocker play. (19 serving 21, St. Louis. Frank working on Merck. Perfect pass as usual. Excellent dig by Frank in position 6. Siebem in transition down the line. Merck is there. McGuire clears the runway for Shields, who terminates against 2 blockers cross court.
One other thing for Stallions here. 19-22 chasing, running out of time, and Will has been one of their top scoring servers. You got to feel emotionally that that was their chance to get back close to even, if not even.
And now you have to side out this ball against Parker Swartz in arguably Chicago's best rotation. Really good pass there by Deutschman. Through the seam, Overby is there. Out of system practice, Hancock inside the ball. Puts a good swing on it. It's good enough to score. Look at that adjustment.
I would have considered timeout there. You still had both, and a chance to get organized on Parker's serve that has been scoring. Surprised they're not looking at it here.
Yeah, 23-19 Chicago. St. Louis with both timeouts in their pocket choose not to use one. Ooh, way short there by Swartz. That had no chance. So maybe they didn't need the timeout after all.
Bad toss. Grady selection, trying to get him short. Not sure.
Me neither.
Leave some question marks after that one.
Narup float serve working on Overby. St. Louis needs a point right here. Frank has a chance in transition. Passed a little too tight, now a Chicago free ball. Hancock having some serious success down the line. Another one there brings up set point Icemen.
That first block touch is so good.
Really good.
Griffin on in rhythm, out wide. He has to defend both the seam and the high line. He gets his hands on it. Just an unfortunate mishandle with all the spin.
Set point Icemen, 24-20. Shields with the honors. Decent pass by Frank. Ooh, Androsco again tried to chop 4-4 and came up short, and that'll do it. The Chicago Icemen on a couple little streaky service runs get out to enough of a comfortable lead to take the first set 25-20 in this North Division Cup final. Good one so far, Chandler. Like you were saying about St. Louis, they came in here thin, only 9 guys. Is it tactical or momentum-based adjustments? Like, what do you try to do to slow down this Icemen team the way they're clicking right now on offense?
Yeah, if I'm Stallions here, I think particularly when I look against Icemen, I need to prioritize all 3 touches. It takes the bump, the set, and the swing to really create enough space just against their size at the net. If you don't prioritize those first 2 touches, you're going to run out of space and just not have enough chances or a good ability to stay efficient in those positions.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you've played against both of these teams, but I think they're built kind of similarly. They're big, they're physical, their first ball side out efficiency is very high across the board. That to me puts even more emphasis on when you do get a touch and maybe a chance at a transition swing. It's all that much more important to have those fine details enable you to generate some offense, like you said.
Yeah. Iceman's maybe separator is the ability to go over the top in transition, just the focus they put in the high ball setting, as well as the potential to have service runs.
How about serving? Not very many aggressive spin serve type of characters on the Stallion side. Do you think that they can make Chicago uncomfortable enough just float serving the ball, or do they have to turn up the heat a little bit?
Yeah, I actually think float serving Iceman's a pretty good option in this lineup construction, but they got to put more balls on Kyle. Kyle's a bailout offensively, and you're not going to beat him on his third touch. You're going to beat him on first contact. So especially with float serves, if you get it onto Kyle's platform, might be an opportunity for more success.
And like you said, as threatening as Kyle Overby is, you at least got to make him work a little bit harder on first contact if you give him that ball. So teams look like they're about ready to go for set number 2, and we might have a lineup change with Cam Hibbler, number 13, on the court jumping right now to get warm. Maybe he's coming into the middle. I don't see Drew Iliff right now. Oh, I do see Drew Iliff. Okay, this is really interesting. Drew Iliff is going to move from the middle to the opposite, and Dave Seabum is going to move from the left side, or sorry, from the right side to the left side. Will Frank is headed to the bench. I actually don't. Oh, I do see him. He's sitting over there next to us. So pretty serious lineup change for St. Louis as we start here with set number 2. Oh my goodness. Bill Kyle Overby for some property damage. Get out of here with that line swing.
I'm speechless.
Yuck. That is unbelievable. A statement by Kyle Overby to start set number 2. Sometimes a point is worth more than just a point, Chandler. Okay, pretty good response. Iliff's first swing on the pin is a good one on the left side.
Going back to the lineup adjustments, I think just looking over at Will on the sideline is a moment of exhaustion, catching his breath more than anything is my guess.
That's a good point. I think that speaks to the VLA Cup format, the grind of it, the endurance required to succeed in it. Will Frank has played a ton of volleyball this weekend. Iliff out of system, challenges the block, and Swartz slams the door with help from Shields. And this is something I'm really interested in, Chandler, in this lineup configuration. Can St. Louis chuck high balls to Drew Iliff on the right side out of system?
It's a tough first look in transition there, but it is a great delivery there. Switching over the responsibilities of a pin hitter, it's a tough adjustment, but
yeah, I think, Chandler, you and I both have a little bit of experience with this, switching from the middle blocker position to the opposite position, but maybe not in the course of one match. That is a real different skill set and just how you have to think about when the ball's near you.
float serve right to Merck.
And Shields able to beat the block of Narup. He was close to sealing off the net there, but I think that's something the Stallions, if they haven't learned already, they will by the end of this match. Do not float serve number 3 in black under any circumstances. Excellent pass by Seabum. Good read by McGuire on the off-speed by Narup. Hancock challenges the block and gets a good deflection just out of bounds on the Icemen sideline.
What a delivery from Parker. Middle coming in to set. It's the underrated skills, serving, digging, setting. You got middles that can do everything and are well-rounded like that. Definitely impacts the game.
That is a really good-looking swing by Drew Iliff. Got his feet inside of that ball and tagged it on the baseline.
I like that choice going back to him, too, after one error.
Me too.
I think he had the middle in rhythm, got the opposing middle to bite there, got him a good delivery there.
And transitioning from the middle to the right side, I think it helps get your guy in the game a little bit if you feed him a couple balls in system. Pretty good dig there by Iliff, right on the setter's head. But a one-on-one block saves it for Chicago. Wow. Griffin Shields shuts down Mason Andrasco.
Just a phenomenal block move. You don't really have to change much besides the range or dynamicism that you swing with. Griffin has the ability to make a read and make a play, and he just did that there.
Excellent pass. Iliff's first look out of the back row is thrown into the block and recycled. Andrasco again, nowhere to go. Great coverage, though. Free ball, Chicago. Overby out of the back row. Right through the arms of Narup. I think that might have been briefly off the foot of Seabum. But a no-doubt kill for Kyle Overby. And the Icemen lead by 3.
Just a great run. You look at St. Louis's defense there. They feel the pressure and they start guessing everywhere. Have a game plan, get a line together. and stay to it with extreme discipline. It's your only chance.
A serve. Seam discipline not quite there that time as that ball splits between Siebem and Deutschmann.
It's a really good serve, though. You watch that almost the ball get to Griffin's left, and he had to turn it back, and he turned it perfectly into the seam with like a straighter ball. So the way it would have, his body was turning, you would expect a ton of hook, but then it comes out perfectly straight.
Good read there by Deutschmann to get that ball off the tape. McGuire, an excellent slow-down block touch. This is where the Icemen make their money, but not this time. What a saving block by A.J. Risavi one-on-one.
Just so impressed with his blocking so far.
Me too.
I know he had that net violation, but just peskiness, touching balls, blocking balls for points in transition like that. I mean, that was slung out in rhythm to Dave for a one-on-one, and he still saves it for his team.
A one-on-one block at a level like this is really like stealing a point, especially to take a break point chance away from your opponent. Good pressure here. McGuire able to run it down, but he's out of the play. The no-looking platform over from Merck. Now Risavi, the lefty, gets involved on the offense by himself. I like that. The other team scrambling, get the ball over the net on him as fast as possible, perhaps.
It's another good decision, to be honest. Making Griffin hit the deck or the whole right side defensively, whether it be setter or Griffin. When you make them hit the floor, it's one, a hard ball to handle, but then two, gives you a really good look later on in transition. So it's something that teams do defensively. They make you swing at the libero or the other side of the court more. But if you're able to score points, even swipey, tippy, drop shots over there, it's a part of the court that I think is underutilized, really.
The floor is now clean after the Icemen bodies hit the floor on the previous play. Good service pressure there by Andrasko. And Shields, the bailout on the right side out of the back row. I think that was right off the forehead of Paul Narup. Yeah, he's rubbing his face after that one.
Some service hacks from Andrasko, though.
Yeah, I think that's... Is he the only aggressive spin server on the Stallions roster? Or is Iliff going after it as well? Okay.
Drew can get after it sometimes, too.
Here is Hancock. 8-5 Icemen lead, in addition to 1-0. I love, Chandler, that these two teams are here in the final just from a storytelling perspective, because the Stallions, brand new this year, 2025, representing Tier 3, which as a level also new to the VLA in 2025. The Icemen around from the beginning, one of the founding 5 franchises, been in this thing for a long time, but they are worthy opponents here in the North Division Cup final, and St. Louis has a free ball. Nice swipe, just on cue, Chandler, right like you said. Siebem swiped off the arm of McGuire and into the antenna for the St. Louis break point.
The other thing I like there, you were asking, in order for Stallions to win this set, they needed something off serve, and can they do it from float? A float service reception mishandle from Dave. Rare, but you see it bearing fruit.
That's a better one. Overby challenges the block. Welcome to the match. Cam Hibbler, number 13 in light blue out of Missouri Baptist, combines with Risavi for the stuff block.
Veteran play, Iceman. Got to wipe off the ball, slowly feed it back. Get organized. What offense you want to run here, Jack? Fully aligned.
Still targeting Hancock on the float serve. Well handled there, and Sawicki in the middle cross body puts it down.
Go back to the bread and butter with Scott. Just the broad jump left, along with his wingspan and the tempo that set is, you almost have to commit to it. So if I'm Stallions and I know Iceman super, super well, you just scored 1 or 2. They're probably going to go back to the bread and butter, and you have to make something else beat you. Make Scott run a true one ball running around with that angle. A much harder set, and it takes out something that they've done for years and years and years.
Curious to see this middle blocker matchup too, because Cam Hibbler, I assume, as far as I know, has not seen these Icemen middles before. That's an amazing adjustment by Siebem to keep that ball alive off the tape, but Chicago is going to get a free ball chance here. Overby so high. Excellent dig by Deutschmann. Siebem recycled off the hands of McGuire. Siebem again, real tight, tipped over, and Overby is underneath it. Ooh, a setter dump attempt. Jack McGuire comes up short. I don't hate the idea.
It's actually a really good look for Icemen, and that tip save on the really tight set for Stallions, allowing Kyle to play it opens up the D ball. Kyle's athletic enough to get all the way around. You saw it open up the setter dump. There's literally 5 options coming at you from Icemen's side. He's able to just pull that a little further, get Kyle to the ground, or make Griffin handle it. More likely for a mishandle and or just keeps you in the point longer. Those small little details can make a world of difference in converting these close sets.
And speaking of options, I really like Dave Siebem's toolbox, so to speak, and out-of-system attacking on the left side so far. Excellent funnel to Deutschman again defensively. Siebem, cross-court, touched and down. Okay, the Stallions take the lead at 10-9.
You're wondering earlier, how do you create space and score points against Icemen? The other part about it is which rotations you get your looks in. Able to set high ball out of system or transition looks against Jack is a little bit different than against Griffin, where he made that one-on-one block earlier.
Perfect float serve reception by Overby. One-on-one, straight over the top of Iliff. No chance to slow that down. Good delivery from McGuire there.
I honestly don't know how you defend that swing from Kyle.
You don't. That's the thing. Like you said, if teams they have all their options available, they have their strengths. Oh, what a touch by Hancock. It's really hard to stop these high-level offenses. Nice recycle shot there by Overby. That is something that the Icemen have trained so hard to turn a touch like that into a productive offensive swing. Great dig by Hancock to start it off.
Cam Hibbler had really good timing. He waited with his footwork to get to it. Just either unfortunate from his hands with how it hit him or bad hand positioning, because he really had a good read on that.
McGuire working on Siebem down the line. Iliff on the left side, stuffed straight down by Swartz, who slams the door on the angle. And a timeout by St. Louis. Interesting, down by 2. I like this timeout, Chandler, but after not having used any in the first set, I like this adjustment by the Stallions to take a breather and slow down some momentum and kind of organize their rotation 1 side-out unit a little bit.
Aggressive set there from AJ. Ended up being just a touch low. Led to the big block that Icemen do so well. The swing was actually kept pretty high for what he had to deal with, but Icemen really makes you feel it when you run out on those inches that we talked about earlier.
I feel like I say this so much commentating games at this level, it might as well be a tagline, but while the net is 8 feet high in elite level men's volleyball, the game is played at a height so much higher than that, especially when you look at these two teams. Like, these guys are picking balls off the top of the antenna routinely, challenging high parts of blockers, but another common saying is that you just can't teach size. These are big teams. First look at Hibbler out of the middle. Overby able to take a little bit of a swing. Now Siebem down the line looking for fingertips and did not find them. So the rotation 1 trap continues. What do you think here for the Stallions offense in this rotation, Chandler?
I don't think they've really looked at middle or the back row outside. Got to have more options in play.
Wow, a huge windup for Drew Iliff. Where did that ball go in relation to the block? Was that seam or hard angle? Ball was crushed.
If you're Icemen, you can kind of live with that.
Oh, yeah.
Them trying to swing power low isn't going to work in the long run.
Now it's the Icemen's turn to try and side out of rotation 1. Good dodge there by Shields as it clips the tape and goes out of bounds wide.
If you're Stallions here, you got to stay the course. You got some good rotations from Icemen across the net. If you can play this even for a couple and feel yourself way back and just get it to turn, you'll be okay.
Perfect pass by Deutschman. Quick ball to Iliff on the right side. Pounded through the block of Hancock off the defender and out of bounds.
You just can't serve Deutschman.
No.
Nails. Both these liberos.
There's a reason why they wear the opposite color. They are the best first contact players on their respective teams. Good ball there by Overby. Hancock through the spread block there of Iliff off the inside of his left hand and out of bounds. Swartz back to serve. Chandler, take a guess. Which direction does this ball move? From our right to left was the right answer, but it just barely missed the baseline. Now Iliff trailing by 2. How aggressive does he want to be?
I look across the net. Griff, Scott, Dave. You got to get pretty aggressive here.
Pretty good rip, working on Hancock. Ooh, that ball through Deutschman's hands. He was in the right spot to pick up that line swing from Shields.
Do you still instinctually, like that set from Jack is so good in the VLA, but used to be a double in the old days. Do you freeze or hesitate at all as a defender?
That's
like
a good question.
Off the set, you're like, you let your guard down?
That's a fair question. Another tagline around here, no doubles in the VLA. As long as the ball is played in one motion and the ball stays on the same team's side of the net, we will never call the double contact in overhead setting. That is how the rule is written, and that's caught on a lot of different places, Chandler, NCAA included. That is almost an ace serve. Nice chase down by Sawicki. Gotta have this here if you're St. Louis. Narup is stuffed by Hancock. Wow, the former middle blocker Hancock helping against the quick.
That's one thing we were super conscious of in our quarterfinal earlier, the amount of help that comes with the middle attack, because you have that one ball with the rhythm and just the nature of it. When you got Scott and Dave full up, 4 hands in your face, you just have nowhere to go. So you got to be super cautious with your middle routes, your footwork, what you're setting. Is it a one ball? Is it a push? All that matters to give you a chance to put that away. Excellent
dig by Shields. Back to the St. Louis side. Siebem again challenges the block, and Sawicki is up to the challenge. Stuff block Chicago 2 in a row and a 4-point lead. These are a couple good transition or out-of-system looks that St. Louis has had, and the Chicago block has snuffed them out.
Stallions looking a little dejected and exhausted from a long weekend and some chances slipping away there.
This is the 5th best-of-5 match of the weekend for both of these teams. And the St. Louis Stallions, with only 9 bodies on the roster, have ridden this team all the way through this tournament to the final, barely dropping any sets in the process. If I'm not mistaken, the only set that St. Louis lost in this tournament was one set against the 6-3-0 Breeze in pool play yesterday. So they have been efficient in the ball that they've played. But fatigue is a very real thing in tournaments this long. Narup at the baseline in a 3-point hole for the St. Louis Stallions. Ooh, that ball set a little too wide for Shields. Not good hand contact either, cannot keep it in bounds. Break point for St. Louis.
I'd expect Kyle here inside out. They used the bread and butter of Scott last time.
Good hand pass by Hancock. Sawicki quick in the middle. The bread and butter, like you said. I think that ball maybe even a little bit under set, but Sawicki no problem. Another thing that I don't know if we've brought up yet about Sawicki, the experience, the size, the range, the arm, also dad strength. Him and his wife right now pregnant with their 2nd. Hasn't really found the rhythm from the baseline, though, yet today. And it is an adjustment. I think I speak for the league when I say, well, the new Franklin VS Premier Volleyball has been outstanding. FS Premier, excuse me. It is different serving the ball. It takes a little bit of work to figure it out. Another perfect run to the middle.
Yeah, and I think the serving is the most impactful piece for whatever reason, with just how it pops off the hand and how it acts and moves and floats. I think it's netted positive for some servers, like Parker has probably benefited, but Sawicki maybe has less forgiveness with just how his hand contacts the ball or his arm swing works.
Perfect pass there by Siebem. Iliff down the line right on the baseline. That is a good-looking swing, man, for a guy that started the match at middle blocker. You don't see that range very often.
That set was dying to touch inside, and he went up and got it with all his athleticism.
Here is Siebem. What a pass by Overby. Oh, but not taken advantage of. That is good, as good a piece of serve reception as you will see What a setting mistake by McGuire. That ball is shot past Swartz. And now an Icemen timeout. That is really interesting, Chandler. What could the consequences of that play be right there?
Well, I think Stallions, you looked at the 3 rotations a little bit ago earlier, and you find a way to net it out and get it close into these closing rotations. I think Icemen see it and feel it that with Kyle coming back row next, they got to be particularly cautious, and that's why the timeout is hit.
These two teams definitely knowing the stakes as well. The last thing the Stallions want to do is go down 2-0. From just an emotional and fatigue factor, if you're looking up at a 2-set deficit, the prospect of making that comeback in the 5th match of the weekend is just so demoralizing.
If I'm Iceman here, I'm not making any adjustments with how I'm calling the offense, but I'm giving Kyle less court in service reception. Make him consider going at Dave's sideline. And if I'm Stallions here and I'm trying to make Kyle handle this ball.
Rotation 1 received for the Icemen. Excellent pressure. Overby's out of the play. Hancock sends over what is effectively a free ball. And Drosko stuffed straight down by Swartz. Unbelievable effort by the Chicago middle blockers in the blocking game. That could have easily been tied up at 20-20.
I thought that ball might get forced all the way back in transition.
Man, we give Kyle Overby a lot of well-deserved credit for his athleticism and his explosiveness, but how about the last 2 passes? Diving both directions, one of them off the tape. Excellent balls in from a guy who's perceived to be an offensive threat. What a great all-around player he is. And here he is at the baseline. Perfect pass there by Deutschman. Quick one to Iliff, and he intercepts it on the right side just inside the pin, able to attack the line. Nothing Merck could do.
Perfect pass.
Really good. And here is what I assume is a serving substitution. Yes, Will Frank re-enters the match.
Yeah, he definitely needed to see the floor at some capacity, whether it be from serve or some front row play here.
Will Frank, 6'8" outside hitter out of McKendree. Been a float server throughout the weekend. I think he goes down the line at Overby here. Sure does. Shields, absolutely unstoppable. I love that set by McGuire. Right over the top of the slightly smaller blocker Andrasko at only 6'3".
Yeah, and that's actually a really good serve, too, making Kyle come forward. Just a really good pass. It took Parker in the middle attack a little bit out of rhythm, but just a no-doubter from Griffin. Too good of a delivery, too good of a swing.
Great offense beats great defense. Iliff challenges Sawicki and again is rejected. 23-20 Icemen, the Chicago middle blockers.
How many times have we seen it? Middle blocking from Icemen with their block, turning the game.
23-20 Parker Swartz. Good pass by Siebem. Wow, beautiful turn by Nara, but McGuire is there. Now out of system practice for Iliff on the right side. High flat shot, Overby makes a play. Hancock ripped into the cross courts. Man, Chandler, I'll tell you what, I don't know if you can play volleyball much better than the Icemen did on that play right there. Block, defense, transition, just fantastic.
Everything, every touch throughout. The setting to get in rhythm and have that range. Scoring in transition is tough in this league. You have to do multiple things right, and they did it there.
Set point, Chicago Icemen 24-20. Iliff to keep it alive. Through the seam off Sawicki and down. Not done yet.
How aggressive will Iliff go here?
Down 21-24. I think you give it a rip if it's me. Keeps his feet behind the line. Overby dodges it, and it misses the baseline on the other side. And the Chicago Icemen are 1 set away from the North Division Cup title here in 2025. 25-21, the set 2 score. St. Louis threw some lineup wrinkles out there. They moved Siebem to the left side. They moved Iliff to the right side. They put Hibbler in the game, and it wasn't quite enough.
Yeah, just from my viewpoint, you can't panic if you're the Stallions there. You got it to almost even. You played them tough. Your backs are against the wall here. Emotionally, you can't look tired. You can't question what got you here and what has been successful so far this year. You can't try to get too cute with any more changes. You just have to pursue it with more aggression, more confidence, and really fight like your back is against the wall like it is.
Which it is. That's exactly right. So, Chandler, you've been in this spot before. If I remember correctly, Central Division Cup last year against the River City Flow, you and the Milwaukee Dive were down 2-0 in the final and got it all the way back to 5. Are those details correct?
It sounded correct. It's a blur with how many epic matches we've had.
You guys have played a lot of 5-setters, but like emotionally, at the end of a tournament, we've said it a couple times, the 5th match of the weekend for both of these teams, you're staring up at a 2-0 deficit in the final. How do you emotionally find fuel that you might not have known you had to try and make a comeback here?
Yeah, I mean, from my point, I have seen a lot of these finals, these long tournaments. Usually something crazy happens. So with that in the back of your mind, you know that things are possible. All it takes is one set win. All it takes is getting this to 15-13 your advantage, and then everything can change from there. So you can't look at it as this daunting task of having to win 3 sets without able to give up any. You have to look at it of what can we do to get up 15-13 in this 3rd set. And you take it at small increments like that, and that's how emotionally you can get across the finish line and get all your guys to buy in to win a cup like this.
The Chicago Icemen team has faltered in divisional cup tournaments before, in the VLA Cup tournament before. They've gotten to this stage a couple of different times, actually on this very court in Madison last year in the VLA Cup final. The Chicago Icemen came up just barely short, losing a 5-setter to the River City Flow.
I will say, though, with this lineup, this strength, Iceman's been pretty untouched, especially recently.
Predictably, no lineup changes for the Icemen, and Will Frank is back into the game at outside hitter on the St. Louis Stallions side, so I believe it's Mason Andrasco that is on the bench now. Yes, Frank and Sebum will be on the left sides for St. Louis as set number 3 is underway. Iliff, cross court out of the back row off the tape and off McGuire, and a very unique but effective X factor for St. Louis, moving a middle to the right side. Drew Iliff has been up to the task at both positions.
Yeah, one other unique detail there. I imagine Will did not go to the bench for anything offensive, but to prioritize first touch maybe. And that serve wasn't even his. It floated away from him, and he wanted that ball. He went and got that ball, and he dimed that ball for their first side out.
Side out answered there by Chicago with the textbook kill for Parker Swartz in the middle. Now Kyle Overby's turn.
Will showing a little bit of line here. One of Kyle's favorite serves. Goes that way.
Good touch by Merck, but not quite good enough. Overby runs out of room. Good run there to the middle for Cam Hibbler.
How about this facility, though? Didn't run out of room, ran out of time. We got pursuit room, service room, ceiling room, all galore on a beautiful Terraflex court.
Well said. Tremendous shout out to the Madtown Juniors facility for hosting us this weekend. One of my personal favorite event sites in the VLA. And Terraflex, man, guys at this level appreciate the surface so much. It makes a big difference on the body.
I also like it for floor defense, diving around. You can scoop under balls. Makes for more exciting play for everyone.
Pretty good reception there against Swartz, and just by Iliff on the right side again. What a match this guy's having.
Definitely some physical swings on the pins on both sides. What's unique, and I saw it there too, is that set out to him doesn't get all the way to the pin. So almost as an attacker, you're working against the middle blocker versus working against your pin defender, which is a strength of Icemen's.
Excellent block touch there for St. Louis. Can Frank turn it into offense? Yes, he can. What a shot down the line.
His go-to, it's so good. He's been doing it all weekend. No looky left with his wrist left. Just so hard to defend. That deception and control that Will brings to that swing.
Hibbler working on Merck down the line. Perfect pass as usual. Oh, and a bit of a misconnect. Maybe more like a traffic jam in the middle. Overby on the Bic had an opening, but came up short.
It was so open. If you just push it over to the left shoulder or to the space that Kyle was filling into.
5-2. Excellent start for the St. Louis Stallions. Couldn't ask for more, down 2-0. Hancock, fantastic high swing off the fingertips and down.
I hate that serve so much. Although the one previous went to Merck, it came all the way from the sideline, and Jack had to look over his shoulder, and it led to a missed delivery. Like, you bring Merck up short, you make Jack look over his shoulder, or you make Kyle handle the ball. All better options, in my opinion, than right to Dave's hands, which he dimes into the side out.
Ace serve, Griffin Shields. Look how much movement that ball has from the right to the left as our camera sees it.
Griff's been having a good service day. Even the ones he missed right on the tape short, I think would have been aces if they crawled across.
Chicago back within one. Excellent pass by Sebum. Iliff, really good high swing again. Clipped Overby on its way out of bounds.
So dynamic.
Really dynamic.
Defense is all set up, but just doesn't know what to expect with how quick he gets on that ball.
Iliff out of Missouri Baptist University, as is his teammate Cam Hibbler.
Couple too many from the power servers from Stallions. We talked earlier, they need to get something off serve. It doesn't always mean more speed.
Rissovy, the front court setter in this rotation for St. Louis. Pretty good reception off the Hancock float serve. Iliff through the block of Sawicki and down.
How many in a row is that to Iliff?
They are feeding the man.
Primary option, go out with your best.
Will Frank repositioning to deliver the float serve there to Overby. Shields answers with a back row attack right side kill of his own.
That was really unique. Like the pass was super fast, the set was really fast, and the blockers were almost too early. And so really weird to see.
Yeah, how often can you say blockers being too early at this level in any circumstance against offenses like this? 1 point hole for the Icemen. Nice pressure here from Sawicki. Out of system swing coming from Iliff, maybe. Ooh, off the tape, kept alive. Overby now in transition. High, hard heat. No chance to keep that ball off the floor.
It's a really good serve.
It is a good serve.
Stallions, tip your cap. Don't get into that position again. Find a way to defend this serve a little bit better this time around.
I like the way you use the word defend, because against some servers at this level, it is more like playing defense than it is just receiving. Underset ball to the middle, and that play is ended by a net violation against St. Louis. I think that was Rissovy, the setter. Either way, more service pressure from Sawicki effective, and the Icemen take the lead by one.
And emotionally, that 1 point lead does bear fruit. Can feel it.
Wow!
Look at that!
Rocket ace serve, Scott Sawicki in front of Frank on the position one sideline, and I don't know how many receivers on the planet can keep that ball alive.
Timeout. Timeout.
Gotta call it, and they do.
Good.
Timeout, St. Louis. 9-7 the Chicago lead, and more importantly, 2-0 in the 2025 VLA North Division Cup final.
We talked about how I thought 15-13 might be the magic number, and it's still definitely achievable. But when you have that 7-5 lead slip, you can't let that affect your body language. It's almost palpable where you can feel it, and I think Scott fed off of that, and it led to an ace.
And Scott Sawicki, a big game player if there ever was one. And the trophy is in the house, Chandler. This is what is on the line. We'll be delivering this to the winning team in this match. They have all the celebrations that go with that and the cup win and the cumulative standings. The Stallions know what this is like. They won one of these tournaments just last weekend.
I'm very familiar with those trophies. Feel like they've just been torn from my hands many times before.
The Milwaukee Dives time is coming, and I'm excited to commentate that game when it happens. More good pressure from Sawicki, keeping the ball in play out of the timeout. Sebum, very conservative shot handled by Hancock. Now Overby straight over the top of the block again. Nice line range off the edge of Risavi and down, and the lead is 3 for Chicago.
I think Kyle's got the feel for the height against AJ, now had a little bit more success. I think the Stallions have been so good at setting out a system, there's not really a need for AJ to feel like he needs to take that ball with a full sprint fadeaway.
Sawicki ends the run with the serve coming up short there, but outstanding work from the baseline by the big middle blocker, number 22 in white.
Another quick pass from Kyle.
Did that catch the fingertips? No touch call.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I didn't see one in real time either. A rare unforced error in first ball side out from Chicago. St. Louis will certainly take it. Good reception again. A one-on-one setup, and look at that angle from Overby. What a pull by Parker Swartz, and a true no-doubter. That's inside the attack line for sure.
You just got Kyle to mishandle a ball with his hands. He's probably going to adjust to his platform. You're a decent float serve, and you let Dave take it. Just got to keep that persistent pressure on the matchup that can work to your advantage.
Got to serve with intention. That ball is hit just out of bounds, cross court wide. Might be the first real error Drew Iliff has made this game. It's been outstanding otherwise.
He's carried such a large offensive load.
Yes, he has. The teams, though, exchanging errors. The Icemen lead is 3. Oh, my goodness, another stuff block, Parker Swartz. The Icemen middles are having a match right now. Sawicki and Swartz both.
How much is that going towards fatigue? Not quite able to locate it all the way out far enough to work against the pin blocker. Not quite able to elevate as much to the size that Iceman can go with.
Excellent shot in response there by Sebum. You like that repeat set from Risavi going right back out to him?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Especially it's a different look and different shot selection.
Dave Sebum, although the Stallions new to the VLA this year, Sebum is not. Played actually in this building for the Nash Villains in last year's VLA Cup. Yeah, tight set. Excellent block by Sebum to swallow that shot from Overby.
I like that defensive work. Commit middle, make a tough set, make Jack try the tough set, and then the left side blocker there, full commit to Kyle. You know Kyle has a good offensive load in row 1 to get him out of that. Full commit to go be up high enough up to Kyle's range and then be strong enough on that tight set. Kyle still had a chance to act on it, but just too good of a block move.
Rotation 1 receive here for the Icemen. Shields on the left side. Attempted power tip comes up short. Definitely felt the presence of Iliff on that one, the blocker on the right side.
Yeah, and that's, again, the right call. Although it might feel like you gave up a one-on-one, Drew's plenty big, and Griffin on the left is different than he is on the right. So although it might look like you gave something up, it works to your advantage and you get the error.
Pass not quite good enough to get the middle involved. Overby is rejected by Hibbler.
Defending the primary.
That's right.
Are the Stallions getting a feel for Iceman here? We talked about 15-13 might be the sweet spot. It is 13-13, and they're defending these primary options a little bit better each time around.
This is the first time in VLA history these two teams have played, so there is a feeling out and learning process, and you're absolutely right, Chandler. St. Louis executing on the matchups in this rotation. Overpass,
oh my God,
hit out of bounds. That is a huge unforced error.
Again, emotionally, you cannot let it affect you, but that is just tragic.
That's a tough one. That is a crusher. You have a team in a weak rotation. You force an overpass, which is the next best thing to an ace, and you hit it out of bounds. Chicago breathes a sigh of relief. Overby now 14-13. Good pass by Deutschman. Excellent high cross-court swing by Iliff. Dude, I cannot believe how comfortable this guy looks on the wing after starting the match in the middle. It's remarkable.
I can't believe how much Stallions are riding him. Triple block, full commit from Icemen. Doesn't matter. Over the top, physical, into space.
The other thing I like about Iliff playing opposite is that he is truly fearless. Doesn't let an error or getting blocked affect his next swing whatsoever. That is a beautiful piece of first ball side out offense there. Parker Swartz, the beneficiary in the middle.
How many 31s or push balls have we seen them be able to hit left?
A lot of separation to the left. That's exactly right.
They create so much space there from the chemistry, the timing. You have to find a way to get in front of it and make them cut it back. They scored on it once, but it was kind of a miss-hit, a softer shot.
Ooh, is that an ace serve? Yes, it is. Parker Swartz with the hybrid. Dips it right in front of Frank, and he can't keep that ball alive. 16-14 Chicago.
That's where the deception comes into play. Will Frank staying pretty deep. You have to respect heat. Not necessarily a changeup, but just controlling the depth.
Ooh, roll shot by Frank. Read nicely by McGuire. Swartz steps in to set the ball. Beautiful one-handed play by Deutschman. Ooh, right on top of the tape, and Sawicki couldn't find it.
I just love watching these liberos play. Jump in front of your teammate, dime it after the ace. Just subtle things like that can help everyone else feel comfortable. You don't get in the stat sheet as the libero as much as the rest of your teammate, but you can make that big of an impact.
Yeah, difference-making liberos is a term that I really like, and I think both of these guys qualify. And right there, with no libero on the floor, you see Hancock having success attacking the cross court.
What's Hancock's hitting efficiency so far?
It's ridiculous.
The dude is so clean and so good.
Playing, I would probably argue, his third most effective position. He was a professional overseas middle blocker and opposite, now turned back into an outside hitter stateside. Really remarkable.
Blow it up!
Ooh, Risavi able to keep it alive. This is basically a free ball chance here. Hancock again off speed, Risavi underneath it.
Make the setter hit the deck.
Nice high shot.
So good.
Yes, Iliff challenges Sawicki, high flat rip, and St. Louis gets a good deflection to get within one.
You look at those free ball choices, one to Griffin's hands, his option still in play, and then the other taking setter out, but Iliff just made too good of a play despite the condition that rally had gotten into. Emotionally, I think the Stallions are holding up. They didn't hit the 15-13 mark, but chasing 1.5 here with side out advantage to the Icemen. They're staying in it emotionally, which I think is the bigger win than necessarily a scoreboard.
Off speed in the middle there by Sawicki. Frank gets all the way back to the left side to have a swing and finds the line again.
You can't leave it open.
That's the second time Will Frank has found that shot in an off-balance, out-of-system situation.
The one time he didn't choose that was the solo block by Jack. He decided to go angle when the line hasn't been touched all weekend long.
The line has not been touched, and it is 17-all in the third set. Can St. Louis maybe smell a little bit of blood in the water? Ace serve! That ball moved weird. And Colin Merck, not a victim of very many ace serves, couldn't handle that one.
Kind of the dead off his hand with how hard he swings. That one might have been the changeup drop ball.
Really strange movement on that serve. That one a more traditional spinner. Eaten alive by Hancock. Overby out of the back row tipped.
Gotta have it.
Deutschman is there. Transition chance. Frank cross court. Stuck by Merck. Ooh, traffic jam. Another St. Louis free ball. He does go to the middle. Narup is kept alive by Overby.
So good.
Deutschman, one hand. Siebem out of the back row. Just out of bounds. Cross court, cross body. Outstanding rally, but a couple chances in transition for the St. Louis Stallions not capitalized upon. Could have been 19-17.
Huge point.
And both teams will take a breather and a floor cleaning break after that lung buster.
That's where the BIC gets a little tricky at this level. It was in rhythm, but if you don't create that angle and space, the blockers are already in the middle of the court. So it gives them enough time to take up a bunch of space. You set that same ball to the D ball, it makes the blockers move. The chances of their hands being good or your ability to challenge the block as a physical hitter like Iliff is might be a better option.
Also, if I'm not mistaken, that was the first BIC that St. Louis has set the entire match.
On the biggest point of the match.
That's right. Frank again working the line. Chandler, you nailed it. The line has not been stopped. Smart volleyball there from Will Frank. 19-18.
And the set, too, all the way out to work on Jack.
Frank back to serve. Working on Hancock's platform. Shields just out of bounds. Long down the line out of the back row. A massive break point for St. Louis to go up by 2.
Best server at the line. All right, in this rotation, when they've given one up before, it's been Scott on the push. Third time's a charm with it.
Perfect pass by Merck. Overby slowed down by Risovi. Nice touch. Back to the Icemen side, though. Oh, look at that. Jack McGuire. I like to call that the high school setter dump, but it worked really nicely on that play.
How does it score? He's so good at it, too.
He is good at it. It helps that he's every bit of 6'5" and is getting that ball at a high apex. Fortunately, we don't have instant replay to take back a look at the noise that Chandler just made when that ball went over the net. Sawicki had a huge run his last time at the baseline. No luck this time. This is St. Louis's opportunity. 21-19 in the third. Can they press their foot down further on the gas pedal? Paul Narup, the middle blocker out of Loyola Chicago. Perfect pass by Overby. Wow, almost a double jump there. An effective block touch by the Stallions. Hancock sends it over, and that ball is down. That is remarkable. What a recovery by the Icemen. Heck of a read by Cam Hibbler on the Stallions side to be up there ready for the Bic, but the scramble for Chicago pays off.
There's been a couple of those weird hoity-toity plays that I like to call them, where Dave is swinging, looking over his shoulder from the back row, and the fact that he's taking a swing, it didn't bear fruit earlier, but it did there.
Great dig by Merck. St. Louis with another chance as Venhouse is in off the bench to serve, and the run to Hibbler in transition off the block is a good one. 22-20.
A great run. Side-out game here down the stretch.
A.J. Risovi, the big setter out of Lincoln Memorial. The left-handed float server works on Overby here. High ball against 2 blockers, and Sebum shuts him down. Massive insurance point on the serve. 23-20 St. Louis, timeout Chicago. Okay.
I thought they were going to call a timeout one earlier, but Stallions, again, you talked about, although the scoreboard they were chasing earlier, emotionally they stayed up, and that's a testament to the character within that team to stay up. That's championship caliber play emotionally and as teammates. Able to then flip it as a result. And you can see that they're starting to get a good feel tactically as well for Icemen. A couple more float serves going to Kyle. A little bit less handling of the true 3-option passes from him. You got to imagine the momentum of a third set win as well as the feel of understanding how to play Icemen's got to be all in the favor of Stallions if they can hold on here.
Yeah, we talked about these teams being big, physical, disciplined, skilled, but they're also smart. And I think the download of the matchup, like you're saying, Chandler, is very much happening here on the St. Louis side. Finding little tiny advantages that they can exploit. Perfect pass there. Overby, no doubter on the right side. So now it gets really interesting. 2-point hole. St. Louis 2 points away. Kyle Overby, very scary. Rotation 1 receive for St. Louis. Do you chuck this ball to Iliff on the left side and continue to let him bail you out of tough situations?
I either try to make Parker go the long way in reverse flow, make him cover a ton of space, or I'm just riding Iliff down the stretch here.
Another nice thing is that Sebum, who's passing and attacking on the right side in this rotation, has played a decent bit of opposite this weekend. Overby keeps the ball in play. Excellent pass. It is Iliff. Chopped over the top. Merck is there. Shields to get within 1. Off the fingertips and out of bounds. Sebum couldn't handle the deflection. It is a 1-point third set. Rotation 1 bites St. Louis once again, where the outside hitter and the opposite switch on the wings, and they don't choose to call timeout here, at least not yet. Overby serving again.
As an aggressive server like Kyle, how do you not call timeout?
Have to. Perfect pass by the defensive specialist. Heck of a turn by Cam Hibbler. McGuire almost underneath that. Real big credit to Brian Venhouse off the bench to pass that ball in a clutch moment. He now goes back to the bench for Will Frank. Set point St. Louis. 24-22. Dave Siebem will be the server. Once the floor is cleaned up anyway. Rotation 2 receive for Chicago. Shields, Swartz, Hancock. Front court hitting options. Off the tape and handled by Merck. Beautiful cross-court swing by Hancock, beats the one-on-one. Intimidating presence of Iliff does not scare Hancock there, and now the set-defining and potentially championship-defining point. Parker Swartz, a nasty server. Down by 1, 23-24. Set point Stallions, but 1 point on Chicago's serve forces overtime. Can Swartz keep this ball in play? And can he put some movement on it? He can. Good pass by Deutschman. Iliff for the set, right through the hands of Hancock. The field goal is good, and St. Louis is on the board in the set column by the narrowest possible margin, 25-23. We are not done yet, Chandler North.
Insane. What a performance down the stretch. You know the ball's going to Iliff. Who cares? He's going after it.
I love it. I love the confidence. I love the grit shown by the St. Louis Stallions just now. You can't overstate how hard it is to be in the situation that they're in the 5th match of the weekend with the title on the line, down 2 sets to none, and be able to push back off the wall to win that set.
We talked about emotionally staying in that set, but how about the clutchness down the stretch? We talk about the inches that are needed to create angles against Icemen and Icemen's size. AJ had missed the set or got Drew out of rhythm in row 1, comes back and puts a nugget up for Cam Hibbler to turn left and detonate a ball. Like the touch in service reception and off the set down the stretch under pressure was so impressive to me, as much so as their camaraderie and emotional in-itness for that entire set.
This St. Louis Stallions team is very firmly on the map. Nationwide, league-wide, the league is on notice. The St. Louis Stallions aren't just any new first-year Tier 3 squad. This is an elite VLA team.
Calm as a cookie. Look around, the swagger, the confidence. You don't see that very much out of new teams. It takes learning, and they have the makeup to be there at such an accelerated learning curve. Really, really cool to watch.
The combination of the physical and the mental, and then the heart. And I love that they've delivered us more volleyball, ladies and gentlemen. We're just about ready for set number 4. Chicago leads 2-1. I'm looking and I see no lineup changes for either team. So Siebem and Frank continue at the outside hitter spots for St. Louis. Hibbler and Narup remain in the middles. What a pull and a detonation by Kyle Overby. Tattoos of Franklin into the chest of Dave Siebem, the off-blocker defender.
He's looking around. What am I supposed to do?
That's twice now, sets 2 and 4, that Kyle Overby has exploded to start the set. What a dig there by Merck. No double context in the VLA. Free ball chance here for St. Louis. Hibbler crossbody again, having some success hitting the ball to his left.
The intention, though, from Stallion's first ball, they make Kyle handle pressure on the float. And then Iceman's first ball, after you just got the chance to regroup, giving up a set, didn't even look over to Will Frank side and instead get dimed for multiple options.
Hancock will clean up the floor as Chicago prepares to receive Dave Siebem's serve in rotation 1.
All right, remember, Kyle gets a lot of the offensive work here. Griffin's the bailout, third option.
Pretty good pass. Overby right on cue. 2 bounce balls in a row. Unbelievable. Kyle Overby. What are we talking about fatigue, Chandler North? What do we know? This man is exploding on the ball right now.
Insane swings.
That's
literally what it comes down to.
Ridiculous.
Not the best block moves defensively. You might have to expect that just to take away primary, but I don't think it matters.
Oh, a little bit of inside-out shoulder over rotation, but a net violation by Chicago bails St. Louis out there. So no error for Iliff. One of the Chicago blockers touched the net. We're tied up at 2, and Hibbler will go back to serve. Shields slowed down. Swartz is underneath it. Weird scramble and nice block move there by Iliff to not get tooled by Hancock. Break point here for St. Louis on the serve of Cam Hibbler.
Icemen looks a little bit more disjointed than earlier. Almost like they're trying to figure out Stallions.
It's a chess game in high-level volleyball. Moves and some counter moves. Not necessarily in the lineup. It's tactical. Nice help block there by Iliff against the middle. Hancock, though. Hancock.
Really good work defensively by Stallions. You can live on that. It's phenomenal, phenomenal swing. But your setup and strategy is real good there.
Tied up at 3. How does St. Louis respond to this particular Parker Swartz service run? Pretty good pass by Sebum. Iliff uses the outside hand of Hancock. This ball is not quite able to be brought back.
Did he pancake that ball in serve receive?
Did he actually?
That serve, yeah. Look at the down ref. Jim is telling him that he got his whole hand underneath it. That
no way. That's outrageous. That ball didn't clip the tape or anything. Dave Sebum just pancaked that ball?
That serve from Parker is so good. He's working it with all the movement. Back to Will Frank. Passer comes in, saves it with the diving. Oh, what a block!
And a stuff block to follow it up. Will Frank and Paul Narup. That is some ridiculous momentum-changing volleyball from the St. Louis Stallions. Man, a pancake and serve receive. Chandler, I can't say I've ever seen that before on a ball that didn't clip the net. Iliff going after that, brings it down into the middle of the net. Chicago can breathe a little bit.
Unique here, though. Kyle's got 2 of the best bounce balls we've seen this weekend, and yet all the volume momentum is for the Stallions. Crazy.
That is crazy. Perfect pass by Deutschman. And Narup off the edge of the Hancock block and out of bounds. No problem. Clean first ball side out for St. Louis.
They look so confident. Another strong server at the line here.
Merck taking up a ton of space in the reception pattern for Chicago. Give and go to Hancock. Beautiful high swing off the fingertips down the line. Did we mention that Dave Hancock was a middle and then he was an opposite? Not only is he attacking the ball at crazy high efficiency, his reception looks incredible. It's so natural.
I think he needs to get the ball more, to be honest.
I agree.
You play the efficiency game. This is where we'd love to have all the stats at the ready. Oh.
Sebum able to beat the block cross court that time. I think Sawicki just the tiniest bit late to seal the net with his left hand.
That's so good. Contorting his body, twisting to make it left, using the shoulder and arm to bring it back to the right into the seam.
I really like Sebum's range and his shot selection. That float serve missed by Narup, and that is not a particularly good service error.
Bombs away here, Sawicki.
Absolutely. He has no other speed.
Anything comes up in transition, too, I'm riding Kyle.
Pretty well handled by Frank. Hibbler in the middle is Doug. Hancock is almost able to run it down by the back netting, but not quite. Really good reception right there by St. Louis.
And that route, too, is so good. everything has been going left, like a true push ball. Defensively, Parker tries to get all the way in front of it. He hedges, if not fronts the route, but he still found a space with his footwork to be able to swing into a seam to the left of the one-on-one middle. The little things before the swing, so good.
That's right. Shields out of the back row. That ball set a little bit too far outside. Good defensive chance.
Oh, my goodness.
Sebum wanted the fingertips, and he's not happy with how that ball came off of his hand. Missed opportunity there as Chicago gets back within 1.
It's a great set, too.
McGuire float serve working on Sebum's hands. Eye lift. That ball is just barely out of bounds. That was close. That was almost inbounds, straight over the top of a gigantic block, but it barely missed the position 5 corner, and we are tied. Perfect pass by Frank again. Hibbler to his right this time. Slicing off some angles. What an energetic and effective substitution he has been.
Defensively, wouldn't overreact there. There's not a ton of space there. He hit the shot, money shot, super good. Make him do it 10 times in a row.
Yeah, good for him. Next ball. Sebum just barely. Oh, my goodness. That was close. The entire Icemen sideline.
Convincing the ref to call it out.
Good look by Sebum. I like the wrist away serve, but it is 9-9 for Kyle Overby. Flicked against the flow. High rip by Eilif is slowed down and dug. Out of system practice here. Hancock cross court and terminates.
Just so good.
Unbelievable out of system offense. So good. All that practice, all that training really comes into play. It all started with the block touch and the dig by Overby. Chicago takes the lead.
I don't know how to defend Dave there, to be honest. He's got the roll shot to Campfire, or the tip to Campfire. He's got the high line, and then he swings with enough range down into the angle that you almost have to give up something.
Ooh, that ball is not touched by the blocker. I was going to say, too, Chandler, I think it's a fantastic point because the threat of Hancock out of system, the off speed to the center of the court, I think that's pulling Kyle Deutschman, the libero, in off the sideline a little bit, which makes the cross-court hard swing more difficult to defend if he can find the range, which so often he can.
They're giving Will so much court here, and Kyle just keeping it right there.
Wow.
Great swing.
One-handed touch by McGuire, though. Now Hancock, tight ball, swiped is good. What a smart play by Dave Hancock.
It's all service reception alignment.
Timeout St. Louis. The momentum has swung in both directions multiple times in this 4th set alone. Right now firmly with Chicago, as the St. Louis body language is giving a little bit of fatigue right about now.
It really feels like a heavyweight battle here, just exchanging blows. Iceman with the response there. You need to reset your footing to then lay your own blow and get back into this fight. In service reception here, I wouldn't change too much. Maybe squeeze what is the defensive left side of the court. Make our front row outside pass less balls from the Stallions' point of view. Make Kyle hit a different serve out of this timeout.
12 serving 9. Yet another test of the St. Louis Stallions right here. They have passed every test with flying colors in their very brief VLA existence. Again, winning the Central Division Cup just last weekend in Northeast Indiana. Not just playing great volleyball, the commitment to traveling and playing as much as possible is really commendable. Out of system swing here for Frank coming out of the timeout. Overby is there. Hancock again continues to take over the game, but this time he's slowed down. Frank on the quick ball is stuffed straight down by Shields. Wow, I think that's a little bit unlucky. I think he got the deflection he wanted and it just clipped him on its way out of bounds. But Griffin Shields' physicality extends the lead for the Icemen.
Kyle with awesome service run here, flipping the 4th set.
Trouble here. Ace serve Kyle Overby. Risovic couldn't quite chase it down. The Icemen lead is 5.
But that's again where I think serving more balls to Will Frank, they adjust the alignment, then able to hit a slider, 90-mile-an-hour slider over to the right side of the passer makes it just a much harder ball to receive.
St. Louis has already used a timeout in this rotation. Iliff not able to get it out of it. A little bit of over-rotation, thumb down, left to right spin, misses the court wide. It is a 6-point lead. Is this the largest lead of the entire match so far?
Yeah, I think so. And we talked about Dave's hitting efficiency and how it works in the long run and his ability to go off speed.
Speaking of off speed, another service ace, Kyle Overby. I feel bad for Deutschman there because he was underneath that ball before it deflected off the tape. But now the lead is 7.
Heads are down.
Yes, they are.
What a response from Icemen.
Excellent pass by Deutschman there. Frank finally ends the run with the cross-court kill through the seam. St. Louis into the double digits. Can Chicago capitalize on this lead? They have a golden opportunity to take home their first trophy since the 2022 Central Division Cup. It has been a while for this Icemen franchise. 2-time VLA Tier 1 champions.
Out of rotation for Icemen.
Are they?
Kyle just served. All right, now they're set.
They're scrambling there a bit after cleaning up the floor, now ready to get back to play. Underset ball to the middle. Iliff keeps it alive. Frank turns and rips down the line again. Excellent set by Risovi Chandler. You're exactly right.
Got enough on it for Will to do what he does best. Create space to the left there with his arm swing and wrist.
Yeah, that thumb up sort of right to left hooking swing. Chandler, you brought it up before the match that you didn't see a whole lot of teams adjusting to that as Will Frank's preferred shot. Shields maybe a little bit early. Decent block touch, but Hibbler not quite able to run it down.
Why serve there? You just scored a point going at Kyle down the line, making the setter look over their shoulder. Go to the probably stronger float serve receptor in Dave.
Parker Swartz opportunity to put the nail in the coffin of the tournament right here with another service run. Good ball by Sebum. Iliff blocked by Hancock, one-on-one but covered. Really tricky angle here for Frank, but he keeps it in play. Hancock again, sharp cross court and just out of bounds. No touch. That ball clipped the tape and missed the sideline, and St. Louis dodges a bullet. It was close. Excellent call, though, by the line judge standing right in front of us, Chandler.
Don't need it all here. Yep.
No luck there for Iliff going after it from the baseline.
Just a little bit. We talked about how much of an offensive load he's carried, and by God did he perform in that third set to get it across the finish line. But the zippy ball where he got and missed wide, could have had a chance to dunk it or throw it. Some of the service pressure, just a little bit too aggressive to sustain over a 5-set match against a team of the caliber of Icemen. Find a way to get a little bit more efficient in those tough spots from the service line can help flip this or be the difference between those teams that win those cups versus not.
Outstanding dig by Deutschman, but it goes back over to the Chicago side. Repeat set to Hancock, high over the fingertips of the block again. Just perfect. Such a good swing from Dave Hancock. And a substitution comes in here for St. Louis. Brian Venhouse, the backup libero, in for Will Frank to pass and play defense this backcourt rotation. But will it be enough? St. Louis here needs so much more than just clean side out. They need that in perfect form and also breakpoint generation, the likes of which we haven't really seen from them throughout this match. Here is Hancock. Makes Nair up the middle blocker, receive it. He does so perfectly. Overby there to help in the blocking game. Sebum 4-4. What a play by Merck. Overby recycles, gets his own rebound. Now Shields out of the back row through the block and dug by
Defensive sub coming
Venhouse.
in.
Eilif is stuffed straight down by Sawicki. The one blocker up there, and Eilif found him. 20-13 Chicago. And the Icemen might be able to start tasting the cup trophy right about now. Ooh, through the block of Sawicki that time goes Dave Siebem. But again, Chandler, when you're down this much this late, perfect side out is not enough. You need more. You need it from the baseline. You need it when you are serving. You need to crack the armor of the Icemen's side out. Can Narup do it here?
Not with that one.
Yes. Wow. What a read by Siebem. Fantastic read to get up there and block the setter dump attempt.
With both hands, too. The eye work to spread the right into the campfire and get that block one-on-one. A great play defensively.
Outstanding read. I wouldn't be surprised if McGuire goes to attack again very soon. But speaking of attack, Kyle Overby pins that ball to the sideline cross court.
So hard to defend as off blocker. You're torn. I can't quite get there to triple. Kyle isn't really much of a tipper to sell out underneath, but also to
an understatement.
Get back to the 10-foot line to dig that. It's just such a hard move.
Sawicki handled by Deutschman. Siebem ripped down the line off the chest of Shields and down.
Such a good set. Concerted effort to get it all the way to the pin.
I love the game that AJ Risavi has set in this match and in this tournament. I have been super impressed by the big man out of Lincoln Memorial. Beautiful. Textbook. Textbook first ball side out from the Chicago Icemen there. Hancock to McGuire to Swartz. Chicago is 3 points away.
Woo!
Eilif keeps them alive with yet another confident swing off the block and out of bounds. Now St. Louis undoes the defensive substitution. Good work by Venhouse playing through the backcourt. So Frank back in. Siebem to serve. 5-point deficit.
These are your rows, though. Row one.
Great pass by Merck, and the block is good there against Swartz. Nice work by Eilif coming in to help block against the gap there. 4-point game, not done yet. Like you said, Chandler, this is the rotation where St. Louis has to put in the work and make the run.
Cannot let Kyle Overby beat you here. You just can't.
But the serve is the thing that bites Dave Siebem and the Stallions on that occasion. Chicago is 2 points away from the title.
Get him off the line. You still have a chance.
Must side out this ball for the Stallions. Good pressure by Overby. Eilif against two blockers. Rolled, kept alive briefly, and sent back over as a free ball. Great scramble. Blocked and down. Unbelievable.
No,
is that ball still alive? That ball is called down to the floor. Did St. Louis get underneath that? I think they claimed that they did, but they don't get the call. The call is down off the block of Swartz and Hancock. Incredible recovery to shut down Hibbler, and now it's match point. Championship point for Kyle Overby and the Icemen. Wow, what a pass by Frank off a great serve. Stuff straight down! Griffin Shields ends the tournament in style. And the Chicago Icemen, after all this time, dominate the Divisional Cup Series tournament. And the trophy is going back home to the Windy City. What a championship match this was. 3-1 the final score. The Chicago Icemen take down the St. Louis Stallions.
And they totally had to earn it too. Stallions gave them the run for their money. They threw some punches there even at the start of set 4. And man, oh man, did Icemen respond.
Outstanding volleyball. Just really good volleyball match. Like you said at the beginning, Chandler, we wanted the best teams to be playing their best in the biggest match at the end of the weekend, and I think that's exactly what we just saw.
Yeah, and you got to give a testament to the physicality and the condition these guys are in. Not only are they 6'8", 6'10", 6'9", but the aggression that they go at and the explosiveness that they hit with at this late in the weekend, so impressive to watch, so much fun to watch and be a part of.
Awesome volleyball, awesome weekend, awesome tournament. Now there is nothing left to do but to hand out the Central Division Cup trophy. Chandler, my friend, outstanding work on the call. It was a pleasure. I'm going to go give the trophy out and hear from some of the victorious Chicago Icemen. That one.
Oh, classic.
Hi, Mom.
Hey, no, Dad. Lynn Hancock. Well, Lynn Hancock Squared
And
is
also
watching.
Lynn Hancock.
Watching from home. Shout out to them.
Shout out to the Lins. Dave Hancock and the Chicago Icemen, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's been a couple years.
Yeah.
It's been a couple years since you won one of these things. First of all, how does it feel? And then second of all, what did it take?
Feels good. We've been working really hard all season in practices with, constructing lineups, game plans for when we come out here. And, hard work pays off. So feels really good. Remind me of the second question.
What did it take? I mean, you kind of just said it. You've put in the work. You put in the training with a lot of intention. You guys know a lot about what it takes to be successful in events like this. But I'm curious because in a final like that against a Stallions team that's so good and that you've never seen before, what were some of the push and pull sort of things that were happening in the middle of the match in your sidelines and in your huddle conversations?
Yeah, obviously shout out to the Stallions. They won last weekend, so I'm sure their bodies are feeling it. So just happy to have more competition in the VLA, good matches, good volleyball, which is, this is fun. So, as far as game planning, we were making slight adjustments here and there, but playing our game is pretty good. So, stick to what we know, trusting in what we know, and really slowing things down when we're maybe struggling a little bit, and then riding the wave when we're rolling. So.
Your game at its best is pretty darn good. We've talked about it a bunch this season, and it's shown up in every match you guys have played, but talk to me a little bit about the detail to which you guys train out of system attacking, because it happens so often at this level, and the way that you guys have it polished and can turn things into points makes such a big difference in a match like this.
I think there's kind of 3 steps to it. Our first is everybody trusting each other. We work on it a lot, but going in with a game plan of if we get a dig, if somebody can camp out underneath them and get their hands on it, we want them to set it rather than a setter running to bump it. So, our general strategy of hey, if we can get hands on it, let it rip, I think is a huge one. And then, preparing and letting our hitters know where that ball's, should be high inside tight so we can use the block. I mean, we're a pretty physical team, so when we can get the ball on the net, even if it's a little tight, we can usually work with it. And then just executing, really working hard for that first touch, because that sets up everything from that second touch. And when we were successful in this match is when we were getting digs. So
the day that you guys just completed was about as much of a gauntlet as the VLA has to offer. You took down both of your Central Division Tier 1 rivals, dive in a reverse sweep, Swede, your crosstown rival, and then a very good Stallions team. Tell me about the role that the depth of your program played in that win in those 3 matches.
It's huge. Last year we were riddled with injuries, and it made it really hard late into tournaments. And even getting to tournament, just putting a roster together, whereas guys, life's going on, but with, the injuries we had 2 season-ending injuries and guys moving, so the stability we've had and how we've set up our roster this year has been really, really effective. We have 16 guys. We got a couple extra practice fill-ins. So it really makes things cohesive, when we have to either add those guys in or even we're all getting reps with each other at some point. So there's a lot of trust between 1 to 16. So we're able to mix and match the lineups a little bit and then, let it rip.
Last but not least, did your team prove anything to yourselves by winning this tournament, or was it just kind of reinforcing what you already knew and the confidence that you already had and what you could do in this league?
Hey, I think our results prior to this tournament speak for themselves. We had lost 2 sets going into this, so getting a little shaken up and by dive the first 2 sets was a good reality check.
Yeah.
And then persevering through it, and then just trusting our game.
Well, congratulations. Your game, like you said, is very, very good.
Yeah.
And I'll get the boys over here in just a minute to hand out the cup trophy, as I think we just went final on the women's side.
Yes, we did.
Unreal tournament this was, huh?
Really fun. Really fun.
Really fun.
Shout out to Madison juniors. Terraflex.
Oh, so good.
Is the best is the best surface to play volleyball on by 1,000,000%. It's not even close. And then shout out to Franklin. The ball actually felt quite good today. So,
Great to hear.
Yeah. Shout out to Franklin.
And shout out to Novice for making y'all look real nice. Nice and icy.
Love our ice. Love our ice.
Well, do me a favor. Go gather your team in front of the net here because we got to get some photos. Dave, well done, my friend.
Women's just ended. They won. Perfect timing.
Address the camera one more time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, not a whole lot left to do but to award this trophy out. My name's Rob St. Clair. Thanks very much for tuning in throughout the weekend. Incredible tournament here in Madison. Congratulations to the Icemen and the St. Louis Stallions for an unbelievable performance in the final. Going to go give this to the victorious Icemen. Thank you all for watching. The East Division Cup up in New York is next weekend. The VLA Cup in Chicago is just about a month away. A lot more ball where this came from. If you enjoyed what you watched, make sure you subscribe. Follow us on all social media platforms, all the different levels that we have stuff going out, and stay tuned for a lot more volleyball. Thanks.